Okay. Good.
Hey, come on in, have a seat. Okay, I think we got any new members or visitors here. We got Larry, he's not here very often, so Larry Offner, welcome back again. We mentioned when you're not here.
I won the award for travel.
That's okay. All right, great, man. Okay, we got a couple of new members, Suzanne and James, I think.
Suzanne and James Evans. Yep.
James and Suzanne Evans came back, they joined up, I think, meeting and a half ago or so.
Yeah, they came to 101 back in the spring and just,
Oh, okay. Okay.
they didn't have a check, they didn't take credit cards, they
Yeah.
couldn't join them.
So then I got grab help to send it for, so that's how I get their money and sign them up.
Yep.
Okay, so not many new members, we've got a couple, financial report, I got a note from Cindy, if you're not here tonight. And the, balance in the bank is, I think it was $8,018. You still need to take $750 out of that and give it to the food bank, and I've been reneging on that. Okay, upcoming events, the two fly rod building clinics we had were pretty successful, although we only had 4 out of 8 show at the Group B meeting over at St. Margaret's and Boyce. How many did you have? Did everybody show up for the Group A meeting at the Wildlife?
No, we had a couple of them show up for that. So,
Okay,
and some, you know, told me that they'd still like to do it. So, at some point in the future, when my building's finished, I'll be able to take 2 at a time.
you need volunteer labor to help you out?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
The things were pretty successful. We got some rods wrapped, and some people even finished their rods at home with the epoxy, which I'm surprised.
Yeah, the 2 I know Rich completed his, and I completed mine. With the other.
If anybody needs
You finished yours
epoxy,
too? Okay,
if anybody needs epoxy, I've got epoxy, rod finishing.
okay,
Stuff that they can bar and use, like the brushes and stirring mixers and everything else. So just, I'll send out an email to everybody.
okay.
and let them know.
We had some good helpers there too. Gary,
Trey Patton,
yeah, Gary Patton.
Jim, even Roger showed up.
Yeah, he did. He gave me a good fine critique on the one I did. Yeah, he messed that up and stuff. It's really good. Okay. My time last meeting was the Clouds of Swimming Nymph. Now, I have a TBD on the agenda I sent out for the next fly time, but that fly is going to be a bullet bluegill spider tied like the AJ Rosenbaum ties. Okay, and Bill's been fishing that and saying it's catching brim and what else?
Everything.
Everything.
Anything you throw at it, it eats.
And he's got,
It's a miracle fly.
you gonna take a drawing or something?
Yeah, but I'd have 4 of them here, and we'll do a little drawing at the end of the meeting
Okay,
and see who wins it. If one of y'all do on the Zoom, I'll mail them to you.
okay. In one of the trips that Bill had recommended was October 1st, participate in the 13th Rio Grande Fly Fishing Rodeo. 13th one, it happens every year. Spring fly casting, we don't have any progress on that, do we?
I'm
Yeah,
not,
Ferguson.
yeah,
Okay.
I'm on that committee.
All right, mixed bag report.
Yep, I actually have a mixed bag report. Let's see. I don't know. Can y'all see that on the Zoom or no? See this Excel spreadsheet?
Yep.
Yep.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so there is a mixed bag. Let me get the Zoom out of the way here. Chris is still far ahead at 24 and then down from there. 143 inches. So that's more than we've finished the year with in the past. So,
Do you have any data that's really right at hand about what flies are working?
no, I usually do that at the end of the year. The
Okay.
flies, the species, the bodies of water, kind of a breakdown analysis of all of it. Yeah.
Yeah, Chris Perkins was mentioning the other day that the main flies for last year's mixed bag were the Clouser and the Woodbug.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, any saltwater stuff, Robert? Are they working? Okay. Jeff, you said something about going out to 4th of Jan.
Yeah, probably, late October, early November. We'll trip out there. I'll check and see, things are, let's get past hurricane season a little bit. Before we, make any determinations. 'Cause, last year, I really sank in all of our plans, so.
I checked last spring about going down there, and the hotels were just outrageous. I mean, like where we usually stay in
Oh,
Houma
yeah.
was like $200 a night or something.
Yeah, they were taking full
Unbelievable.
advantage of the fact that there were
So I don't know if that's the way now, but
people,
yeah,
but yeah, it's gone down. It's
good.
gone down quite a bit.
The casting clinic's still going 5:30 p.m. before the meetings. I don't think anybody showed up today to do that. And it was the rain.
Well, I sent out an email saying we canceled because of weather.
So they,
Yeah.
I didn't see it.
Like the idea of carrying a lightning wire.
Carlton, you mentioned something about the, which I thought was a good idea, about maybe next time we go up to, the Little Mo, all right, the annual trip, and having a single fly competition.
Yeah.
Would you like to mention that to the,
The group that fishes Little Mountain Fork River in Broken Bow, Oklahoma, every year they have a mystery fly tournament, I think they call it. I don't remember exactly what they call it. Something like that. It's a one-day thing where when you show up, they give you one fly. I say give you, it's a benefit, it's a fundraising event, so you pay to participate in it. And you get one fly, everybody gets the same fly, you don't know what it's gonna be until you pick it up. And so you fish with that fly today, and whoever catches the most on that fly, I guess, is the winner of the tournament. I've read the format and all.
Yeah, and
And you can purchase an additional fly in case you lose your fly. So I mean, it's like I say, it's a fundraiser. But it sounds like just a fun thing that we might try and do. Somebody pick out just a fly that we generally use up there.
It's everyone.
Yeah. And you just have that one, that's all, the only one you can have. Of course, it's on the honor system, but
well, when I
it
read
just
this,
sound like a fun thing.
when I read the, what you sent out in the email, it indicated that each fisherman would have either a fellow fisherman validate what he was catching, or whether or not he
I
was
think they do that.
I like how you bring a boat
Yeah.
I got it. Hey, Robert, I don't know anybody that carry a chainsaw with them to get the damn flies back. I went fishing in San Antonio. Just had to go babysit. Got to wait a few hours. I think I lost 4 flies in the trees. Yeah. Yep. I'm so bringing the chainsaw. Get it down. But you're right.
That's right.
You might get some that have been up there quite a while too. Okay, I think that's a good idea. I like, anybody else,
One last thing you didn't mention, and that's National Hunting Fishing Day. It's September 24th. And so we're gonna do our new thing, we're gonna be at the Wildlife and Fisheries Center over there at Woodward. This year is different in that there are two forms that have to be filled. One is by the exhibitor. So I filled that form out already on the applicant. And then another form, also online form, that's to be filled out by all the volunteers. And so
You had that all
it's online. And I can send that email.
online, on our site?
I think it's on our site. Yeah, I think there's a link on our site.
Okay.
And no, I'll send you.
The date is the 24th
24th of September.
September.
So the club's already registered. So we just need the people who are going to be volunteers to register.
Okay. And what's the name of the new hunter out there? When I did that research before, Fly Fishing 101 is a man. And you were telling me that's a woman?
Yeah, but Christy Brinkley is the one that's heading the center. I guess maybe because there's a learning curve involved.
You see at the fish out there though?
Yeah, she's in that range, but she's the one.
Christian.
Christy Butler, Christy Brinkley.
Carlton's already put it on his calendar.
Hey, she still looks good. Christy
I
Brinkley
know.
still looks really good. But no,
Okay,
it's Christy Butler.
the Christian Butler is for the whole state,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
For Hunting Fishing Day, and now for Fly Fishing 101, she's not involved in it.
Right.
Okay. Okay, so with that out there now. Still correct. No, trust that. Yes. Okay. All right, fishing reports. Anybody got anything to report on fishing? You obviously do, but
We're gonna do that.
some out of your
Yeah.
briefing, something else besides your briefing.
We've been, Jim and I went up to Sibley Lake Saturday and learn what we didn't know about crappie fishing. Caught a bunch of bluegill
Oh, dude,
on this fly,
I think six, right?
slow.
Oh, so it's like.
It's not weighted. Yes.
Chris, any fish?
Pardon?
Any fishing reports? Jim, anything to add, adventures there?
Oh, I was big rock. Caught a dog.
Well, did you really?
So Louisiana bone fish.
You fish off the bank down there, or just take a boat out of it? Oh, okay. Yeah. Anybody else fishing report?
I don't. We on a whitewater trip up to Montana last week, and I fished the Flathead River. And this is glacier, pretty scale, type river. I thought.
Nice.
How many? Oh, really? Cutthroat trout.
Yeah, I mean, it's a unique, it's these state fish. It's just located in the.
Yeah.
What kind of cutthroat were they? West slope?
What were you catching them on? What kind of fly? Adams or something? Or- Yeah. You have a guide or just, yeah? Carl?
Pretty nice.
Good. No other fishing report?
Yeah, I was telling Larry that normally, I go out to the dock in the morning at the rec area and I can catch 2-3 white perch. With there and call them white perch. But I haven't caught one in 3 weeks out there. It's been really tough. But anybody's fishing the lake either, so.
What's the name of that, water up there that's named after, I'm singing governor?
Jimmy Davis.
Yeah. What's the name of that lake?
Caney Lake.
Yeah, deep resource. Been fishing that a lot.
That's a great,
Well, it's
fly
not,
fishing. It's absolutely.
We stopped fishing it about a month ago. It's not that.
I was up there about a month ago at Caney and caught a stringer of the biggest bluegill I've ever caught.
Really?
Yeah,
That's right.
and an 11-inch redder,
Big,
11-inch redder.
big.
You wait.
Broke out the fillet knife.
Yeah.
And potato salad.
He's got one of those, things, let's see.
Lobster.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And he was telling me, said, you know, if you're fishing right here, and lots of just fishing right there. They're right there. I don't know, it just seems like, an advantage that, $3,000 about it. Okay, any other comments from, this?
I thought you were moving on.
Well, I am, give it to you.
Are we still going out to the club trip one to White River?
Yeah, yeah, Chris Perkins talked about that every time he's been here. And, there is,
We only have 3 people signed up for it.
yeah, it's got that, three people signed up. I don't know if that's changed or not. Chris is not here to speak to it. But he's
Catch, I
the,
sent an email that I would go, but I'm not gonna hire a guide. I'm gonna take my boat.
Okay,
Is there a form to fill out?
yeah. there was a
Online form? Okay, I may not have done that then.
the survey month.
I thought I did. Okay. Anyway.
The 3 have signed up, got one might take both. Anybody else, Rick? Okay, or so now?
What tomorrow night is the open fly tying night at Pack and Paddle. Jim and I are gonna ride down. So if anybody I can take 4 probably, if anybody else wants to go. You wanna go catch? Okay. Yeah, it's Flip, if you can speak up loudly so we can hear you through this little projector about what's gonna go on tomorrow night.
Well, the way I understand it, John and I discussed having a featured, I guess, fly tyer at each event. And I'm going to do it tomorrow night. And we're going to do the Borsky slider, redfish slider. And the idea is we're just going to take 10 to 20 minutes at the beginning and do the fly for whoever's interested. And then afterwards, everybody can go about, tying whatever flies they'd like to. Or if they want to learn more about the Borsky slider, I'll be glad to sit down with everybody and do that. That's kind of what we're going to do from now on, I think.
Okay, so we just bring our vise and whatever materials we think we need and.
Yeah, I'm gonna have the deer hair and the craft fur. I mean, I'll pretty much have everything we need for the fly. If you want to tie something else, that you can bring materials for that.
Well, unless the weather's too bad, a few of us will head down that way. So.
Yeah.
And then your fly fishing 101 is September 17th, is that right?
17th. Yes, sir. Catch just informed me that we have about 7 people have signed up already, which I think that's pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
Where's it? What's the location for that gonna be, Flip?
It's going to be at the library down in Youngsville, but it's right next to the ball field where we had the meeting. Mike will remember that.
Babaka.
What's it called, Catch?
Babaka.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, it's a library right there next to it. Unfortunately, it's not going to be able to start until 10 o'clock because they don't open until 10, but we're just going to have to work around that.
What day of the week is the 17th?
Saturday.
Saturday?
Yeah.
That's more.
I just wanted, has anybody been or heard about the Broussard Sports Complex? It's on the east side of Highway 90 when you get down into Broussard. And I read about it. They've actually got 4 fishing ponds there, or 4 ponds, and they allow fishing. I don't know if they're stocked or what, but I haven't been. I want to go down there and take a look at it for the possibility of us having a meeting there at some point. But looking at it on Google Earth, it looks pretty good.
Nice. All right, thanks, Flip.
Yeah, thanks, Rick.
And if you do go tomorrow night and want to ride, you have to pre-register. I've got the link.
You don't have to register.
You don't have to? Okay. All right, never mind.
That's just something that Pack and Paddle pretty much is standard on all their events. But if you show up, I guarantee you're not going to be turned away.
Okay, Flip, you still need pictures taken at that event in case you forget to.
What's that?
You want those?
Say again, Mike?
Does Pack and Paddle still want the photographs?
Want what?
I was at the wrong, that wasn't close to the speaker. Does Pack and Paddle still want photographs taken at each of those events like that?
Yeah, and John's going to be there tomorrow night. I pretty much guarantee you there'll be plenty of photographs taken. He's also got Ron Begno lined up to come play some Cajun music for us.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Nice.
Okay. All right, thanks, Flip.
All right.
All right, now we'll proceed to the main presentation tonight. Bill Morrison. Jim Johnson.
Well, we're not the main presentation. Larry is the main presentation, but we're the opening show.
That sounds good to me.
Yeah,
Whatever you
we're the
say.
warm-up band. So hang on, I got to find my PowerPoint here. Oh, there it is. Oh no, my computer just restarted. Oh, there it goes. Yeah, that's not where we want to be. There we go. How's that? New Orleans fishing trip. Can y'all, the Zoom folks, can y'all see a PowerPoint? Okay, good deal. Whoa. That's okay. I mean, it probably looks better if I'm in the dark anyway. So.
You want it back on?
Oh, that's fine. No, we don't need to see. This shows up a whole lot better. So back in June, and Jim, jump in here anytime you want. Back in June, early June, Jim and I wanted to go down to New Orleans to get a Rio cichlid for the tournament, for the mixed bag tournament. And so I've been emailing with, oh, I have to get that off. Been emailing with AJ Rosenbaum, and he invited us to come down one Saturday morning and that he would guide for us. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But for those of you that don't know or not familiar with a Rio, you've probably seen pictures of it, but this is one caught out of City Park. This one I caught a couple of years ago out of City Park. And Rio and Larry's going to talk more about this, but it is Rio Grande cichlid. Is also called a Texas cichlid, or just plain Rio. And this one thing I found out in looking at this, that the cichlid family is tilapia, peacock bass. There are like over 2,000 species of cichlids. It's one of the largest families of fish in the world. And it's just that we don't have a lot of them here. Matter of fact, the cichlid is the only native cichlid to the United States. It is native to South Texas, Mexico, Central America, and so on. And again, Larry talked more about this, but in the late 1980s, apparently some folks dumped them out of aquariums into the waters in New Orleans. And they were very prolific because they're tolerant of high salinity water. And so a lot of, they really became, at some points, the dominant fish down there. And again, I don't know that much about it, as our experts are going to tell us here in a minute. but they became very well established. And then when Katrina came through and flooded City Park where they were, of course, that spread their range way out. So AJ agreed to be our guide that day. And Jim and I were really happy because Jim, you caught the first one, I think. And so we met AJ at Cafe Du Monde, Old Morning Call in City Park. And he took us over to Big Lake, which I'll show you on a map here in just a second. And he was really a good guide. As I say on the slide here, he said, there's one cast right there. So, I mean, it wasn't like cast in this part of the water, that part of the water. There's a cichlid kind of cast to it.
I had to use my great casting expertise, but it just flipped it out there about 5 foot. That's all it took.
Yeah, most of them were like 5.
Because he missed it 6 times before I caught it. Well, I mean,
Yeah. So, and this was all sight fish, and it was really nice because he even gave us flies to fish with. And this is the fly. Now these are some that I've tied. These are not the ones that AJ tied, but he called it a bully bluegill spider, and I'd never seen a bully bluegill that was quite like that. And matter of fact, this is the fly we're going to tie in September, and it differs from the regular bully bluegill, and one is not weighted. And then he adds that red thread head and covers it with UV resin. So for the shallow water around City Park there, it's like 1 to 2 feet deep. These work really well because they sink fairly slow, and as you strip them, they stay suspended in the water. And I've got 4 of them over here at the end of the meeting. I'm going to do a little random drawing if whoever's here for those 4 flies. But they're size 14, and I have used them since then, the white one particularly. I've caught tons of bluegill on it. I've caught, and you'll see in a second, I caught 2 gar down there on this size 14. So it's a really versatile little fly pattern.
Is that a nymph hook?
Yeah, this particular hook, he tied it on a heavy wire 3X long nymph hook. This particular one is a heavy curved 3X nymph hook. I think it's a J Stockard hook. So it's a fairly heavy wire, and but it is a 14. So pretty much any 3X long and whatever size you want, I think would work fine for it.
I'm getting on a 12. I had 14.
Yep. So yeah, 12 would be real good, and even 10. And the legs are the small kind of midge or micro size rubber legs on them. But we use those. He gave us 2 white and 2 green each that day, and we started with white and never took them all. But as far as other flies go, and we had these with us, but we didn't fish them. And Jim, you have more experience with these 2 than I do. Like who made them? And
The first one on Mardi Gras, and that comes announced Rio Bandito. I think he changed the name of it now. It was Chris Johnson over Round Rock. And the other one is Matt Bennett's fly, Rio Gear, I believe.
I think so
And
too.
it's the same place, Living Water Fly Shop, where they all come out. I've caught a ton of brim on both of them.
Yeah, the Rio Bandito on the left looks in the water a lot like a Rosenbaum hare's ear, kind of looks very much like that in the water.
Got 2 legs on it.
Yeah, and
And it's all straight possible.
mhm.
Which
but we fished with those white ones that he had given us. Now, where we fished was in, like I said, in Big Lake in City Park. And for those of you that are passingly familiar with New Orleans and City Park, we have, this is the part of City Park south of Interstate 610 up in the upper left here. This is the 610 split. And Cafe Du Monde is this red building right here.
You go see where it goes.
Oh, it's not showing it, is it? All right, hang on. Okay, I think now we are. Okay. All right, here we go. So this is Cafe Du Monde here, and this is Big Lake. And it's a pretty good sized lake. I have a picture of it in a minute. But we parked, there's a nice parking area here on one side, and we just basically worked our way around the edge of the lake. And it's really shallow, 1 to 2 feet around most of the bank. And so the water was, he said it wasn't very clear, but to me, it looked fairly clear. So we could sight fish for them there. And down below, again, Cafe Du Monde is right here. This lagoon at the bottom, in past years, I've caught Rios out of it, but it's become pretty choked with either duckweed or hydrilla. But there's a lot of this area that's not fishable, but some of this lagoon is. So really, if you just go into New Orleans and exit and go to City Park, this is Delgado Community College over here, and just go into Big Lake. It's really pretty easy to find. And this is a picture of Big Lake. You can see it's pretty good size. Now there's Little Lake. Catch Larry, is it or Rios? I'm assuming in Little Lake as well, behind Big Lake there.
They're everywhere.
They're everywhere. Okay. And so that day we only fished about an hour because we were meeting someone at a different location later to do some different fishing. But in that hour or so, we saw Rios swimming around, and we caught 3. We saw bass, didn't catch any of those, and we caught several bluegill fishing around some of the deeper areas. We saw spotted gar, caught 2 of those on that same little 14 fly, and we saw a grass or common carp. I don't know the carp well enough to identify them, but I suspect it was a grass carp. But we spooked it and didn't get a chance to fish for it. But this is a video that AJ sent me that he sent about a month ago of a pair of Rios in the lake there. And
We can't see that, Bill.
Can't see that video?
No.
What are you seeing?
Couldn't see the map either. It was just black here.
Okay, what are you seeing now? Just black still?
Just black.
All right, well, let me,
Same for me.
all right, hold on.
There you go.
All right, there.
See it
All right.
now.
Okay, good. So this is a mating pair, and he said they're protecting the fry. There's 2 of them. And so this is kind of like Jim and I saw around the, you could see them this well around the edge of the lake in the water. So we just basically sight fished to them. And we were fishing along there, and here's a couple that we caught. What's that, Jim?
I said it counts.
Jim was going for the record. So so there's the 2 that we counted, and I'm assuming the one on the left is a female, the one on the right's a male. Is that right? Yep. And I was fishing with an 8-foot 4-weight, and Jim, what were you fishing with?
9-foot 5-weight.
9-foot 5-weight. And along with that, when we're fishing for the Rios, I caught 1 Rio, and I saw this gar out there, and this was a 27-inch spotted gar. And again, it was kind of like Jim said, that you don't need a lot of casting ability because he was about 10 or 12 feet off the bank. And I landed that little white fly on his nose. And that was purely by accident. Of course, I was trying for right in front of his face, but landed it on his nose, and it just sat there for a few seconds. And I just moved it a little bit, and when it fell off of his nose, he went to the side and snapped at it. And I set the hook and caught him. Well, AJ got his camera out, and this is on an 8-foot 4-weight. So this was getting pretty good bend in it. And this just goes to show you that no matter how old you are, you can still drag fish up on the bank like a kid and throw them up in the grass.
Whatever works.
Whatever works, that's right. Because
Well, I was on the other side of that wheel, I couldn't see where you catch it. the darn geese were all over the place, and they'd get to where I thought he hung up a goose, but I could hear her splash. They all around and talking ball.
And this is on 4X tippet too. And it was right in his lip, right in the outer edge of his lip. And then this is pretty embarrassing for this little section right here. But if I was 10 years old, this would be okay. But I'm here throwing my rods, my Winston rod. I'm throwing around in the mud and throwing the fish up. See, I dragged the rod. I mean, I'm so excited over the fish. I dragged the rod up on the bank, throw the fish, and he is slimy as all get out. So, but I wound up catching the second one right after this. I saw a smaller one out there about 18 inches long and cast it right off of about 6 inches off his face. And he did the same thing, just snapped at it and set the hook and caught him. But with that, so what October the 1st, as we said earlier, is the Rio Rodeo, and Catch has won it twice, and Larry helped start it. So I'm not going to embarrass myself by saying something incorrect about it. But what I want to propose is that as a club, either, and I'll send an email out, like the last bullet says, an email out to gauge interest. If we have enough people who are interested in going, whatever that number might be, 6 or 8, we can make some group arrangements, but otherwise just those of us that want to go will go. But probably we'll go down on Friday, September 30th and pre-fish and look around. And the Rio Rodeo is just Saturday morning. It's the check-in's at 12:30. So, and then we can come back here and our fish for some more species in the park if we want to try to fish for some of the carp or gar or bass that's in there. But I'll send an email out pretty soon to gauge some interest in that, so we can figure out how many of us would like to go. That should be a lot of fun. And City Park's an interesting place to fish. It's it's pretty for an urban park, and the water in the lagoons is fairly clear, or at least it was when we were there. And Jim, where was that? That was behind Cafe Du Monde. We walked back, and yeah, and we walked over the bridge. I mean, you could see fish everywhere just swimming around. So it was kind of cool to see that. But that is pretty much it. We had a good time. We were only fishing for, like I say, about an hour, because we were moving out to go fish somewhere else. But AJ did it was really nice of him to not only guide us, but bring us 4 flies each to fish with.
Am I correct that when you catch those, you can't return them to the water?
Yeah, we didn't know that, so we just.
Here's the deal. If you caught with them live, like in an ice chest with water, you can be fined. If you're caught releasing them back in the water, you can be fined. What they want you to do is throw them on the bank. You know what? I release fish back into the water. I can't do that. If you want to, that's great. I don't know who would be wanting to carton them off. I had thought about where I live, there's a pond. There's something, at least some reels in here, but maybe not. But anyway.
With piranha.
Yeah, with everything else.
Have you ever eaten them, Larry?
That's in my presentation.
Oh, it is? Okay. All right. I won't jump forward then. Okay. All right. Nice.
Oh, hell no, I haven't, but I know somebody who did.
I've eaten, there was, not the ones from New Orleans, but the ones from Texas. And they're good.
You know, my first encounter with that fish was back in the 80s. This first I ever caught. I was doing taxidermy, and I had a guy show up with one here in Alexandria. I had no idea what it was. He said he caught it in Texas. And that was prior internet days. And I had a sister-in-law living in Austin. I called her, and her husband went down to Texas Parks and Wildlife, got some pictures of it, and sent it to me, because that's the only way if I buy snail mail. And that's the only way I could find a pattern of paint. That was the only one I'd ever seen. That's the only one I caught. That was 86, 87.
You ready for me?
I am. Can y'all see that flip, Chris? Can y'all?
Yes.
Okay.
Very good.
Are you gonna?
Yeah, please.
You've got a dim light and a bright light. Put the dim light.
It was just part of the home.
Yeah. Maybe.
That's good.
Yes, this is they call them brainiacs in New Orleans. When they get really big, the males get that hump on the front of their head. I did this for a Texas club, and they had never been, a lot of them had been to New Orleans, so I thought I'd leave this here for you. This is colloquial pronunciations if you get down there. Oil is Earl. You put Earl in your claw. And for God's sake, shake the handle on the turlet. Never put your fish in the zinc. And they have some really good oyster po' boys down there. And it's not harbor, it's harbor. And folks, listen, it's called a poor boy, okay? I had somebody try to convince me that it was either hyphenated or abbreviated before it was named poor boy. That's wrong. You'll hear New Orleans people call it a poor boy. You go to the next slide. Okay, those are pecans. These are pecans, okay? Texas people call them pecans. You know, it's pecans. Next slide. That is not a praline. That's a praline. Okay, go to the next slide. We'll go through this quick. All right, and we already said this. The male either has yellow or turquoise dots on it, and the female has bars. They do have some color in the front, but it's probably the only place in the world where the male is better looking. So there you go. Oh, we went to the end?
Well, yeah, that's 7, 8, there's 10 slides.
There's a lot more than 10 slides.
Okay, you want to hand me your,
You got the jump drive?
Yeah.
And I was gonna get to this later, but they say 5 parishes. So that means some of the New Orleans guys has honey holes someplace where they're catching a lot of Rios. Just be careful where you go in New Orleans. It's not like it's been when I was younger. I was born in Baptist Hospital in New Orleans, lived downtown till I was 5, and then we moved to St. Bernard Parish. Everybody in New Orleans is an aggressive driver, okay? When the light turns green, move. That's what they want you to do. But listen, don't be flipping people off or cussing them or looking in the car and making faces, okay? I have a girlfriend, yeah, I know, it's hard to believe, that lives in Barataria. And we were going to St. Bernard Parish to eat dinner at Rocky and Carlos. We were going down the West Bank Expressway, and on the opposite side, there were
there's one something.
fire trucks and ambulances and police cars stacked up. And I asked Margot, I said, what's going on over there? She said, well, somebody probably got shot. And so she reached in her purse and dropped her 38 in the console. And so I'm like, hell, we're in the Wild West here. But, you know, people got, somebody got shot. A guy cut the guy off. He got mad, pulled up next to him, flipped him off. The guy that he flipped off shot him twice. But he survived. So, you know, just be careful. 5 parishes. The only ones I can think of are Jefferson, that's Metairie, or Metairie, if you're from there. Orleans Parish and St. Bernard. Know where you're going. If you don't know where you're going, don't go, because it's a dangerous place. They pulled a grandmother out of a car in broad daylight in downtown New Orleans and beat her to death for her car. And it goes on every day. Yeah, defund the police. That really helped the city out. So you know, if you're gonna go off by yourself, I would suggest go in twos. If you're taking your wife, don't bring her out walking around fishing, okay? Leave her in a hotel if you're doing that. I had a guy ask me, well, you know, open carry is legal in Louisiana. I said, yeah, and that's like drawing a target on you. I have a permit to conceal carry. When I'm in New Orleans, anywhere, I got a 32 caliber Beretta in my pocket. It's that bad. At night, go inside, go to the hotel. I stay at the Lafitte House on Bourbon Street.
It's expensive, but it's beautiful. It's next door to Gene Lafitte's blacksmith shop. At dusk, I get something to eat, and I'm in the hotel with a dirty martini, sitting in a rocking chair, watching the culture change. So just the best thing to do, I would fish in City Park. There's lots of places to fish in City Park. Bayou St. John is one of my favorites. Just be careful, okay? Be careful. All right.
That's the only note. That's the only one I found. 10 slides. Is it one of these folders? Is there another one?
I don't know, Catch.
No, that's it.
Well,
Wait, let's see. Here's Nola. See what it's there.
no.
10 slides.
The history of how they got there. In 1989, a aquarium shop dumped their aquariums on the West Bank, which in my mind should still be the East Bank. But anyway, dumped their aquariums into the Harvey Canal. They went from there to Intracoastal and ended up in Lake Pontchartrain. These are freshwater cichlids, rios, but they have a high tolerance for salinity. So they were right at home in Lake Pontchartrain. Whenever Katrina came through, well, they went everywhere that there's standing water, okay? And when the water went back, people found them flopping in parking lots. There were so many of them. They're mouth breeders. They breed 800 to 2,000 fry at a time. Are they an invasive species? Duh. Yeah, they're an invasive species. Ketch and I were, I think, one of the first people that went there to target the Rio Grande, and catching 50 was nothing when we first started. Met a guy named Jimmy Mayu down there. I was president of the New Orleans Fly Fishers. He was the vice president, and we started the Rio Grande Rodeo. Back then we met on Harrison, and everybody had to fish the park. Now you can go to other places. Now, if you can get with somebody like AJ and know some other place to go in the 5 parish area, you know, feel free. But, you know, the water during the daytime is fine. City Park is fine. I don't think you have to worry about anybody. Of course, if you've never seen Jackson Square, that's where all the art is, Cafe Du Monde, et cetera, et cetera. Now, let me say something about Andrew Jackson. Let me digress. I had a lady tell me that they need to remove Andrew Jackson from Jackson Square. And I asked her why, and she said he was a slave owner. I said, baby, he was born in the 1700s. He was not in the Civil War. And he defeated the British at the Battle of New Orleans, which actually took place in Chalmette. Well, she kept insisting that he was a slave owner and that they needed to replace him. I said, let me ask you a question. New Orleans is one of the top 5 vacation spots in the world. You're gonna be the heart, the epitome of the French Quarter is Jackson Square. Who are you gonna put in this place? And she said, I hadn't thought about it. I said, well, I have a suggestion. Why don't you put the very first president that had the title of Democrat in the White House? The first Democratic president in the White House. Why don't you put him in City Park? She said, I like that. Who was it? I said, Andrew Jackson. Anyway, don't mess with me in American history. My favorite place to fish, he said you can't fish right now, behind Morning Call. Well, it was when I was there. It could be Cafe Du Monde now. It changes every week. There's a bridge and an island, and I fished that island, but he said it's covered with weeds. So Big Lake's good. The lake, if you're looking at the New Orleans Museum of Art, there's a big lake off to the left. There's a small one to the right that's probably filled with stuff too. I like the fish Bayou St. John. That first Rio, I caught it there. Now, I hadn't been in a couple of years.
Now, Larry, you fish it here by the park? Is that where you fish it?
Yeah. And it goes all the way out to Lake Pontchartrain. There's a gate there. That was funny. Wildlife and Fisheries released either 7 or 8 redfish into Bayou St. John. You know, tagged them for people to report. It seems like all 8, when they were caught, they were hooked bad and they died, so they had to eat them. Figure that out. So anyway, my favorite places to eat, let me tell you that. If you're gonna be bumming around in the city, first of all, Williams Boulevard, when you're going in, the second exit going into Metairie, there's a little place called Harbor Seafood, best seafood in the city. I have been to Commander's Palace, I've been to Ralph's on the Boulevard, I've been to Annunciation. If you like soft shell crabs, they're delicious. That's my favorite place to eat seafood.
What's the name of it?
Harbor Seafood, Harbor Seafood. If you like Italian, on Bienville is Liuzza's. They have great Italian food. If you like beer, they come in a goblet this big with ice on it. I don't like beer, but I drink that stuff. You hear me? It's cold and it's good. They also have the best red beans and rice and hot sausage in town.
Jeez.
And another dish they have for 2, it's called a French enchilada, okay? So it is a muffalata on French bread. It's about 18 inches long and it's killer, okay? That's good. And by the way, where the name Poor Boy come from, y'all know? During the Depression, they couldn't afford meat. So yeah, they got French bread and put French fries on it, and then they put brown gravy. And that was a poor boy. That's where the name came from. And if you go to Bears or Parkview, or my favorite Shortstop on Transcontinental Metairie, you can still get, if you want to, the original poor boy. And if you get if you want a real roast beef poor boy, and it's sliced, that ain't a real New Orleans roast beef poor boy. It's got to be debris. The meat is cooked all pieces, swimming in gravy with lettuce, tomato, and mayonnaise. And when you bite it, if it doesn't fall out, something's wrong. Okay, you wear a part, you eat part. I mean, it's not like there's no Rios in City Park. I mean, as many fries they have, they're there. The only thing that can kill them is if the temperature of the water gets under 49 degrees. And I don't figure that happened. And if it gets that cold, they will hide somewhere in a culvert or something where it's warm. And after one big freeze, it seemed like there were less, but now there's ample fish to catch down there. My favorite flies, which was another slide, the memory's not too bad, guys. First of all, when I first started fly fishing, the only fly I used was a jitterbug. I had boxes of every color. That's the only fly I used. That's what I caught my first Rio on. And there were pictures up there. Then, you can't go wrong with the fluff butt, okay? My favorite now is Slow Sing Spider by Stephen Robert. And then, probably any trout fly will work. Will they hit a pop? When I had my fly shop for 8 years, I had a guy in Florida that would sell me number 12 poppers. And there was a Carolina blue that's kind of a little bit darker than like a turquoise. And oh my gosh, it would catch anything. It's a fish magnet, bluegill and Rio. What else am I forgetting? That ought to give you enough. Okay, well, I have never eaten them, but Kyle Moppert caught some in the park and caught one in Bayou St. John. He said the one in the park tasted muddy. I wouldn't eat anything out of City Park. They spray chemicals and crap all up in there and everything. I wouldn't do it. Bayou St. John, he said it tasted like a bluegill, like any other perch. Then you have to wonder what his taste buds are like. I don't know. but I don't eat them from either place. That's just me. So, I see people keeping them everywhere, now, I'll end with this. Every place there's a canal that has always had standing water since Katrina has fish. Veterans Boulevard that runs, all the way through Meadow. There's a canal in the middle. Now that's the place in the middle, that's not the median. If you're from New Orleans, that's the neutral ground, okay? In the neutral ground, there's that canal. And I've gone down there across from CC's and Barnes and Noble and caught fish, okay? You get a lot of looks, but if you're coming in, if you're coming from the west down the interstate and you get to the Loyola exit, if you get off there, there's a stretch of a canal that runs almost the full length of the interstate. I've caught fish there too.
Is that Napoleon?
No,
No, it's not Napoleon.
it's right next to the interstate. You can see it. My favorite place is I had Kurt Beecher. He was catching carp, and I still haven't caught a carp. Y'all shut up. Anyway, I asked him, where did you go? So when you go south on Williams Boulevard, that's in Kent. And he said, and you'll see a construction company. And he said, just turn to the right because the canal is right there and park and fly fish that canal. What he didn't tell me was it was a bad neighborhood. And so yes, I'm woke. I woke up and I'm white. I'm proud of it. I walked down that canal and across the street was a black bar. And one guy with a beer saw me cast and I heard him holler, come look at this, and I had black guys lined up along that canal and I was catching fish and I didn't feel real safe there, So that's what I mean. Know where you are. They were nice. They offered me a beer and everything. But I had no idea. Look, I'm gonna tell you, I was looking for carp and I saw something moving down the water. And I promise you, he was this big and he was fat. And he rolled when he went down the canal. So I started chasing him. And I chased him to the bridge and then I realized I had a three-way with a number 12 popper on it. I figured this shit ain't happening, So like I say, any place there's standing water, West Jeff Parkway, anywhere in Metairie, if you want to go down in the canal, they're there. I call it urban angle, okay?
Now, AJ said Lefreniere wasn't that good this year for some reason.
I have never done where it's a beautiful park.
Yeah, it's really
Lafreniere Park
pretty
is
lake.
gorgeous. I have never done well there. I've caught some little bluegill, and a couple of little bass, but Lafreniere Park hasn't been real good for me. But I'm trying to think. I guess that's good. That's good. I'm happy. Y'all happy? I'm happy.
What way rod do you recommend?
I use 3-weight for everything. I have a 3-weight DK in the back of my car. So, I mean, I'm the guy that loves to fish for bluegill and small bass and, I also have a 5-weight in the back if I want to go over the fish. One of my favorite places to fish is Old Highway 51. I don't know if y'all, that would probably be in there. I haven't caught any Rios there. But every 3/10 of a mile back, Highway 51 parallels Interstate 55 from Ponchatoula to the Fox, or from Chalmette to Fox. But anyway, every 3/10 of a mile is a cut that goes out into the bayou. A lot of it's grown up. But the last time I was coming back from Barrett Fair to see Margot, I found the spot and I caught a couple of decent bluegill and 2 like bass off the side of the road. Now that's a place you don't want to be out at night too. They find a lot of bodies out there, and it's a good place to grow here. So I do care there. Ta-da.
First time I saw we call it Rio Grande Park, Lake Calabara, south of San Antonio, that's right off there, about 1980. And, I found one of those buggers, and I looked at it, and it looked so weird, I thought. I threw it back in, and then a friend of mine from Bad Deal, also stationed there. He, he said, this wasn't alive, this was, and said, now I thought this weird looking fish, and then I said, eat. So when I go get them, and we just fish with worms, just pull it out. And we got a whole bunch of that fish fry, but and then it tastes good, that's the main thing. So we use worms, and what I'll do is just, that's the worm thing.
Mike, can you get closer to the computer so we can hear?
Mike, can you, here, hang on just a second. Flip.
Oh.
All right, go ahead. Let you hear you from there.
Okay. We were fishing in Lake Calaveras. I caught a Rio Grande perch, is what we called them. And I threw it back because it looked too weird. And a friend of mine from Basil said, no, they're good to eat. So we went out to catch them. And went out in the boat, we were fishing with worms, just, bait casts and reels and stuff. But what I found out is that I would let the worms sink and just say, okay, there should be one on there now. And set them up. I felt nothing nibbling or anything, but they're such a soft take. And that's the way we caught it. I mean, occasionally you get one that's full, but most of them didn't. Anyway, that's my total. And the fish fry was good. Nobody got sick, but they weren't from New Orleans. Thank you, Bill.
And you will see some parakeets.
That's Cormier's got something,
Well, yeah,
Go ahead and take the mic.
Bill asked me to talk because I'm the only, well, I'm one of only two people that's won it twice. And in fact, I've placed 200 times. 3 of those occasions, my biggest fish was caught on one of the small pocket boats that we sell. And of course, they don't have them anymore, but I've been fishing with the triangle bug that Flip Sarah Gibson put me on. And I've been catching just about everything on that. I used to catch them with little green, I call them green trout, flash out, popping trots. But it's an early morning thing. When you first get out there, you're register, hit the water as soon as possible, find those fish. You really need to sight them to get onto them. But in one case, I was able to blind cast it. Okay. But it's an early morning thing. By 9 o'clock, you get away from the poppers altogether. You're not going to come off. But 2 of those, like I said, called poppers. Then when I won it last time, which was in 2020, the fly, I ended up catching most of the fish. I mean, having the most reels caught. But when I came in, I only brought 2. And then released the rest. And there was an agent standing nearby. And I told him, the weighmaster, that I released the fish. And the weighmaster, the agent, the wild fishers agent, kind of looked at it. He said, "You're not supposed to release those." I said, "Yeah, no." And he just left it. He didn't write me a ticket. When I wrote 2 articles for Louisiana Sports, columns from Louisiana Sports about the reloads during my 20 years. First one I wrote, I mentioned, okay, they're considered invasive species, but in fact, we have a lot of fish here in Louisiana that wild fish are put in Louisiana, striped bass, Florida bass, so on, that are non-native to Louisiana. The Rio is native to North America, to South Texas, and in the eons that they've been there, they've never gone outside their range. And the same thing is true here. They're pretty much stuck to New Orleans because the climate there, the microclimate, is mild enough for them to support. But the other thing is, they occupy a niche in the ecosystem that you won't find in bluegill anyway. Some of the nastiest water in city park lagoons out there. He's talking about the duckweed and the grass. you're gonna find some really nice reels in there. I mean, I've been in some spots where some of those canals that you call the neutral grounds, yeah, neutral grounds. I fished that a lot in some of these tournaments when there's a lot of open boundaries. You just look at a map of New Orleans, Mary Kenner, look for those areas that have the neutral grounds. I'll go park in a parking lot somewhere and then you walk the banks out there. And what I'm looking for is any kind of structure. And some of that water can be pretty nasty. But that's the good stuff. I mean, you find this little pocket of nasty, dirty water that's sitting there. It's got all kind of concrete in it. And you're gonna find some really big reefs in there.
And they also like the hotter it is, the better they like.
Yeah. And another thing is the carp, like I mentioned, carp are there in some of those. And I had a couple of carp steal my fly from reels in 2020. And he was fishing about this big. Fortunately, I had 5 weights, so I was actually able to land them and get a picture for the mixed bag. But they're kind of sneaky, those carp. They will, you know, if you're trying to throw to them and get them to bite, they won't eat. And then you throw to a reel, and it's almost like competitive. Then they'll come up and snatch you. Reels, though, success I had last time was with the Rio Bandito. Chris Johnson's fly. Kind of like that, kind of bright orange type color right there. Then tied it with Australian possum. I tied it with squirrels on it. And it worked really well. But over the years that we fished it together, what I found is if you throw something that's big or heavy or whatever, it's got to sink slow. That's why those buoy or this unweighted works so well. I've also had success with the black bluegill. I don't know what that is. Huh? Where you do a fly. If you go to our website, you can see.
Yeah, you've got a time video on that.
Yeah, you've got the black bluegill video on there.
Slow sink spider.
Yeah, slow sink spider.
Like trout fish, when you throw it out, you take the slack out, you see the line, tighten it up, and scoop it. Very good.
There's one year I did win the big one. I caught a whole bunch of these 4 and 5 inch reels. It was on a wet fly, a spider, like or a partridge and orange type
Yeah.
wet fly, kind of spider, pink fly. So this slow stuff, you know, you just kind of have to be careful because they are kind of spooky. They may not take off like that, but they'll know you're there. And you can throw to the cast them. I found that sometimes if I just get a little low like that, and throw it, and they don't see me that well, that's when they'll get it. And that's my advice.
Cool.
I said earlier that I don't compete, and I'm gonna tell you why. We went to Adele, Texas, for the Bass on the Farm tournament, and I didn't sign up to fish that. But they had a bluegill tournament the night before on Friday. So Catch didn't tell me, but he threw $10 up and he entered me in the contest. So, you know, I was like, well, then you know, so I kept looking and I was in second place. Dang, I was going to place or something. Then I was competitive. And so then I dropped to 3rd place. And it was like 4 minutes left on the clock. And this knucklehead sitting to my right, he can't quit. He's addicted. If you spill a glass of water, he's gonna cast through it, okay? And so he's by the dock, and I'm like, it's over, Catch, it's over. He didn't only catch the winning bluegill, he caught the damn late breakfast. Piss me off. Never again. Just keep your $10 in your wallet, okay? So yeah, that's why. I love the fish league. But yeah, no more competing.
2 minutes left, I call 1.6 pound blue.
Big blue guy.
Anybody else got wisdom or real? Bill?
All right, let me do a random here on my Excel spreadsheet here. Hang on just a second. Give away these flies.
Hey, guys, get ready to have a drawing for the flies.
Unexpertly tied.
Give everybody the numbers.
Mm-mm. Nope. Let's see, hold on just a second here. My computer's working real slow with running the Zoom.
So you got a video.
Mhm. I do, yeah. All right, let's see. Hang on just a second. Let me. Do a quick random number generator here and. All right. Ed Jones, Gene Taylor is not here. Jeff Ferguson, Doug Bell. Doug Bell. 4. 4 little flies. There you go. Work out and use the trout back. That's it, yeah.
All right, guys, that terminates, these over.
All right, y'all. Flip. Hope to see you tomorrow night. Chris, Mark, good to see y'all.
All right, Bill.
One-
Good night.
one
Have a good night, guys.
When you
Good
leave,
night.
I'll go out there.